Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our end of service webinar today, presented by Champion and IBM. My name is Steve Marinak, and I'll be your host along with our fabulous guest panel of IBM speakers and guests from IBM today, which I will get to their names later on in this presentation. But at first, I'd like to start off with a little bit about our company and our expertise on IBM Power. I figure a picture goes a long way, and so even though that's a little bit dated, there's a picture of me on the right and my dad on the left. He was with IBM for about 30 years, and I started this business for mid-range back in 1993. Recently, though, in 2016, we joined forces with Champion Solutions Group. So what we have here now is a really great strength for power systems of the two companies. They have a tremendous strength in IBM AIX, being an integrator of that platform for well over 20 years. Our expertise with IBM I married the two together, and we've got quite a strong IBM Power roster of experts on hand. Well over a century of expertise between, probably 2 centuries of expertise actually between the two companies. All of our engineers they maintain IBM certification levels, and they're constantly out there doing installs, migrations, etc., keeping up with the latest on IBM Power. Here is a quick bullet list of some of the services we offer at Champion for power systems. We do just about everything from soup to nuts: operating system services, hardware services, problem management, remote support, disaster recovery, high availability. I'm not going to read off the whole list, but we can help take care of your account on-site or remote, with remote managed services as well. So if you ever need any help or any services, that's what we're here for. Yeah, sure. Let's ask the poll question. We've got a quick question here. Just to get to know our audience a little bit better. Which operating system or systems are you using on your existing IBM Power machines? And is there a way to push that out to them, Kevin?
Yeah, well, in fact, what we do is right now 57% of you are saying that you're running on AIX and 60% on IBM I. That's because people are picking more than one operating system. So 70% of the people that have answered the survey are on AIX, 64 are on IBM I, and 18% are running Linux. That's 73% of the people that voted.
Oh, that's very cool.
And we can break that down. We'll know which one you picked, so that when we call you to follow up, we know what operating system you're using.
Awesome. Technology today. That's great to see, and it's great to have you all on the phone with us today.
Okay. So back to your presentation.
Okay, I'll speak up. One of our guys said he couldn't hear me very well.
Please don't instant message us in the middle of this. Thank you.
Okay, go to the next slide, Kevin. Okay, today one of the most exciting things we have on the call here is our featured speakers from IBM. Gosh, we really got a flood of enthusiasm and help today with the folks that are joining us. Shannon Elwell is going to be the person who's giving the presentation after my introductions, but she got so much enthusiasm from her team, we ended up getting a half a dozen or more of my old compadres that I've been working with for many years. And I was really glad to have them join us, and I wanted to let our audience know who we have on the line. And this is really a star-studded roster of IBM experts and IBM talent that are here for you on this call today. So I'm not going to read through everybody's miniature bio here, but feel free to ask questions from the panel if you have any specific questions or you want to get in touch with any of these experts. We'd be more than happy to hook you up with them afterwards with a one-on-one conference call. So next slide. And the core reason we're having this conversation today is at the top of this page, you'll see it says announcement, withdrawal announcement. And I've been getting a lot of calls from and emails from our clients. You know, what does this mean? What does this mean to me? You know, and really, everybody doesn't go through and read every little detail on all these announcements. So my goal was with this call today was to be able to help our clients and our prospects out there in the field have a better understanding what this end of service means to them and their organization. The other document that you probably haven't read as well is on the lower half of this page, which IBM calls their Power Refresh Guide. Now, what that is probably a 30,000 level of view of where you're at today and where you could go to a new machine. Now, this is just a snippet from that manual, and instead of sending the manual out to you and having you read through all the different pages of it, what we wanted to do today was have Shannon walk you through some of the things, of the niceties and the reasons to take a look at going from your older technology to some of the newer technology if you're in that zone of end of support. So she's going to go through some of the end of support things, and you might be able to identify where you're at in that end of support withdrawal scenario. Next page, Kevin, I think. Okay, and one of the things we're going to do with the end of support to help you out is we've got a list of offerings here that we will do for each and every one of you at no charge. In fact, you will get a gift if you engage and do this end of support offering, which we'll talk about at the end of the call. But some of the things we want to do with you is evaluate your current and future support status for you. And all we really need is your model type and serial number. We'll be able to tell you the end of support dates for your hardware, the end of support dates for your software and your software maintenance. We'll be able to tell you your version and release that's supported on your hardware. Like, for example, you might be on version 5 release 4 today, but your machine may go up to version 7 release 2. You know, that's just an example. We'll tell you where you're at, what your machine can handle, and so forth. And all we really need is your model type and serial to do that sort of thing. Along with that, we're going to tell you what your options are. We're not going to just say, hey, you're out of luck, here's your end date. We're going to tell you, okay, for your particular machine, your end date is this, and here are your options, either with extended service, extended support, etc. There's a couple of different vehicles that you will be able to take advantage of possibly, and we'll let you know what those are. And then the last thing that we will provide to you, again at no charge, is, if you want it, is something called a Perf Nav study. It's a performance navigator study. And what that does is, if you're interested in not just extending your support, but looking at a newer machine, that's where the Perf Nav analysis comes in very handy. We take your individual system data that's being collected on your machine today, most likely, and if not, we can have you collect a little bit of it. And we will be able to have IBM, this is a service IBM does for us. So the data goes straight to IBM. IBM churns it, comes out with some reports. They'll tell you how your performance looks today, or over a 30-month period, a 30-day period, I should say. where your spikes are, where your bottlenecks are, and then they can do what's called a what-if analysis. They can do a what-if on Power 8 or Power 9 with X amount of memory, or this number of SSDs, or this many spinning drives. It's a really cool tool that will be able to show you, hey, this is what my current environment would look like running on a Power 8 or a Power 9. And by engaging to have us do any of these things, at the end, we'll tell you we're going to give you a free gift to engage and do that sort of thing. But before we get to all that stuff, let's get into the meat of the presentation with Shannon. She's the business unit executive for IBM and for IBM North American Power Sales. So that's quite an illustrious title, and we're very privileged to have her here with us today. And any of you, feel free to, I don't know if, Kevin, is there a way people they can raise their hand or post a question?
Under the questions section, if they have a question for anyone, as you can see, there's one question here already, they can post it and we can answer it for them. So you can see that someone says the audio is not good for the person responding to the polls. That's me.
Okay.
Because I don't have the mic.
Okay, yep. He's sitting next to me and I've got the headset on. Okay, so you'll just have to be that much louder than you actually are, Kevin.
I can be as loud as you want me to be. So.
That's an inside joke here. Okay, so Kevin, if you could hand the mic over to Shannon, she will take you through some of this information regarding the end of service and why you should look at some of the newer technologies as well. So thank you, and handing it over to you, Shannon.
All right, thank you, and thanks for the opportunity to talk to everybody today. As you saw earlier, I have a great team with me to help with all sorts of questions around AIX, IBM I, how to get TCO analysis, migration assistance, whatever comes to mind. So there's a whole team there. Just go ahead and write questions, or I'm going to move through these slides fairly quickly so we can get some time for you guys to just ask any and all questions. But first, I do want to go through a few slides on the compelling reasons to upgrade to P9. I'm thinking that most of you are not CEOs of your company and will need to provide some business justification on why it is time to upgrade. I will also cover the details around end of life, end of service dates, what is supported with what, and resources to help you out. So we'll go anything from kind of high level down to some nuts and bolts. So let's get started. First, I know you're probably worried that I bring up Power 10. Where am I taking you with this presentation? But as we go and we talk about Power 9, just a reminder, we have the entire portfolio now out in the marketplace. We started in December 2017, rolling out our entire Power 9 portfolio. So we now have anything from a single socket 4-core up to the E980, which has got 192 cores. So that's all out in the market now. As always, whenever you announce product line, everybody goes, is that the end of it? Are you continuing to invest in the product line? And that is absolutely a true statement. We are investing. We are working on our Power 10 servers. In terms of, going from a Power 9 to a Power 10, again, you're going to be able to expect, 2x cost performance differentiation, especially when software licensing is concerned. We'll continue to incorporate things like cutting edge security with secure containers, secure AI accelerator ecosystems, and memory encryption. And we will still outshine x86 with 2x memory bandwidth and 2.6x memory capacity. So basically, big innovation jumps just like you saw with a Power 8 to Power 9. So there's a future. Continue to stick on Power because and we've got a lot of investments in the future around our operating systems as well as our hardware. But with that, let's go ahead and jump to the next slide. And let's go into some details. So I promised you high level, and I promised you some nuts and bolts on what's going on in terms of Power 9. On September 19, 2017, IBM did announce plans to withdraw lease, rental, and maintenance services for all of our P5, P6, and P7s. You can get the model and features listed on our IBM website. It's the links down at the bottom here, so you can get all the details by part number on what's happening. Just in summary on what you're seeing, end of service for the Power 5 was January 31st, 2019. End of service for our Power 6 was March 31st, 2019. End of service for Power 7 is September 30th, 2019. For Power 7 customers, they will be able to pay for extended support past 2019. For Power 5 and Power 6, we will be completely unsupported after these dates, all right? They're just very old systems. For those that are curious what's happening with Power 7 Plus, like your 795, end of service is expected around 2020, 2021. We will give you about 18 to 24 months notice. For Power 8, end of service, we're not looking at that until like 2023, 2024. So there's time with our Power 8s, definitely. In terms of rule of thumbs around technologies and what's their life cycle in the market, usually we have a technology in the market for about 4 to 5 years. Your loose parts will be another 1 to 2 years. Our activations after that are another year. And then finally, your service and support are about 1 to 2 years. So usually a life cycle of a product is about 10 years. And that's just to give you guys a rule of thumb on what you're looking for as products, are out in the marketplace, your P8s, P9s as you're thinking about that. But let's step into the next chart here. So I mentioned, about max 10 years in terms of life cycles on the products. And this is those conversations you'll have with your management, like, why can't I stay with my 5s and 6s? They've been around for a while. They're nice and sturdy still. Well, they are old, long in the tooth. It is hard to get parts for these servers. A Power 5, it's actually been, life cycle is 15 years. Our rule of thumb was 10 years. If you think about when Power 5 came out in the marketplace, at the same time Facebook came out. So that's a long time ago. If you look at a Power 6, same time that an iPhone was introduced. So how many times did you upgrade your iPhone since 2007? I think more than you've upgraded some of your P6s. And then the Power 7s. I mean, that came out when the first Uber ride happened in San Francisco. So I'm just mentioning this because these products are old. Think about that in terms of, getting old car parts, getting old parts for your phone, et cetera, et cetera. The reality is we're just running out of parts out there in the marketplace and resources to be able to upgrade it or take care of those systems. With that, step into the next chart, please. Now, I do know for any customer that's sitting on a 5 and 6, next slide when you have a chance. For any customer that's sitting on a 5 and 6, oops, sorry, up one, we jumped. There we go. I know that a customer at a 5 or 6 may not be too worried about performance, but if you're dealing with anything, an application that has per core performance, things like Oracle applications, when you move from a 5 to a P9, you're getting 4.6x performance. If you're moving a Power 6 to a Power 9, you're getting 3x or 3.6x per core performance. So that does have a fairly large impact around things like your software licensing and stuff. So I just want to mention that. I know whenever we come out with new products at IBM, we tend to just talk about from one generation to the next and 2x improvements, et cetera. But you've got some pretty good dramatical jumps when you're looking at a 5 to a 9. And this is just one of those, if you look at IBM and how we do our processors, from one generation to the next, we actually increase per core performance. x86 tend to decrease per core performance. So you actually need a lot less licensing. So with that, I do want to jump into, because I think what's going to be most important to you is that overall cost for the TCO for new systems versus old systems. Performance, a 5, a 6, I'm guessing your compelling reason to move isn't necessarily performance. It is going to be that TCO. We do have on the call with me today, Dexter Charles. His team will be able to go in, working with Champion, working with you to be able to look at your data center and evaluate, where your server's at, where your utilization level's at on your servers, and be able to say, where can I go in and decrease your software licensing costs, your maintenance costs, and be able to do scenarios for you on should I be moving to a scale-up box or maybe a scale-out box such as an S924. So they'll be able to do some work for you. This is just one of the scenarios to show a 3-year TCO example. We can get customers, costs down, by $1.4 million. That's moving a customer to, consolidating quite a few servers down to an S924. So it is important to think in terms of the TCO and what we've got to do to help you guys with that consolidation for your data center. If you go to the next slide. A lot of TCOs don't actually include power and energy, and maybe it's just that I was born and raised in California, and I think a lot about, power, real estate, data center costs, et cetera. And so part of our TCO analysis that we can provide will include things like power and energy. I mean, when you think about power and energy, it's really, you want to ask the questions around, am I maxing out in terms of my data center footprint? Am I facing some regulations, et cetera, et cetera? So you guys get that. But, if you look at Power 5 to Power 9, you're going to be able to get a better per watt performance by about 22x. So it's a pretty good jump if you're going from a 5 to 9. If you're going from a 7 to 9, you're still getting 3x increase in performance per watt. So again, some really good benefits looking at performance. And again, we can go and build that whole conversation into your TCO model for you to look at as you're evaluating what's your best consolidation strategy. So we move into the next slide. One of the other things is, really leaning on conversations around why is it important to upgrade at this point in time. Performance, if you're sitting on very old servers, not always a big issue. Security, though, is. I think Spectre and Melt Down was a pretty good wake up for a lot of people out in the marketplace around, what's happening with hacking and breaches and stuff. We do also have all sorts of regulations, like the European General Data Protection came out in 2018. We've had the PCI DCSS for quite a while now, as well as HIPAA. These are all, if you're out of violation, you're going to get fined. I think one of the important stats here is 28% likelihood of an organization having a data breach in the next 24 months. However, if you're sitting on those older servers, your Power 5, 6, or 7s, and there's a lot of that technology to protect and get ahead of those hackers does not exist in those servers. It doesn't exist in, it's not as though our competitors were able to back up and help out with their old servers either. It just doesn't exist in the older technologies. And so everybody's at fairly vulnerable. If we step into the next chart, and before I do get started on this slide, I want to make a point that none of these breaches were on Power servers. We do make a point, and we have, historically been very strong in terms of security and reliability. But as you look at this, and again, I do want to impress on, 5, 6, and 7s, just doesn't have that security technologies. If you look at TGX in 2006, 94 million credit cards were exposed with a loss close to $200 million. And thus, we have the credit card security, the PICDSS, was released in December 2004. So those regulations came out because, ouch, that was a very big breach, right? HIPAA in 2006, and then the GDPR in 2018. I think we all remember Christmas 2013 and poor Target. That ended up being 110 million credit cards breached, and it cost the company 162 million. I love Home Depot, but they had 56 million customer credit cards exposed. That cost them 161 million to compensate their customers because of things like these regulations and the fines around that, on top of just taking care of the customer. And then there's other companies like Uber that they had personal information exposed, and their company value went from 68 billion to 48 billion. So in summary, security is important. Stay on top of it. Next chart. Last one around security, just emphasis around what we are and have been building into our technology. So Power 5, Power 6, again, that's, 15 years ago, we just didn't have, the crypto technology that exists. We started building crypto acceleration and P8, and we're doubling that down in terms of Power 9, and we'll continue to emphasize that in Power 10. Next slide. This is a little proof point. Yes, we are number one in reliability. You guys can look at that study. We always have been, and we'll continue to emphasize that. So let's go to the next slide, because I think everybody, if they've got hopefully those business case justifications down, now it's like, okay, what do I need to do? And a lot of times what's really sticky for everybody is their applications. So what is going to be supported? What can I do? What can't I do? So AIX 5.3 is at end of life as of April 2019. So no possibility to run it supported beyond that date. No security fixes will be provided, okay? AIX 6.1 end of service is announced April 30th, 2017. Extended support will be until April 2020. Okay, so that's for 6.1. There is an additional fee, but we can do extended support until April 2020. Extended support for P8 and above will be until 2022. So if you have an application that's just sticky on AIX 6.1, at least upgrade your hardware to a P8 and P9. You'll be able to run the 6.1 in P7 mode. So at least you can get yourself up to the better hardware, the P8 and the P9. 7.1 is supported for Power 9. It'll be supported in the P8 mode. And then AIX 7.2 supporting on 7, 8, 9. Obviously, the best thing to do is get yourself moved up to AIX 7.2. The next slide, let's take a quick look at IBM I Support. So this kind of looks at the calendar of what's supported around IBM I. At the top, those are years, so 2008 going out to 2028. So looking at your IBM I 5.14, we will end extended support September 30th, 2017. IBM I 6.1, which you can see here at the top, we are going to do extended support September 30th, 2018. So end of extended support is September 30th, 2018. For IBM I 7.1, end of marketing is September 30th, 2017. End of support, April 30th, 2018. And you can kind of see that by the end of marketing, it's the dark, and then the end of support is going to be with it, the darker or the lighter green. Next one. In terms of what's supported with what for IBM I, so looking at your Power 9s, we're supporting 7.2 as well as 7.3. 7.2 is supported for the 7 pluses, 8s as well as 9. You will be able to, you will not have the IOP or HSL support if you're looking at P6 plus and P6. If you're looking at IBM 7.1, we are not supporting IBM I 7.1 on our Power 9s. So that would be for our Power 8 and below. And then you can see 6.1, and we mentioned end of extended support for 6.1 is September 30th, 2018. So that just kind of gives you a matrix around our support with IBM I and which servers are supported with what. Next slide. So I'm just wrapping up so we can get to questions, because I'm sure you have many, especially as we get into those nuts and bolts on what's supported when and how. But I do want to emphasize again, I mentioned Dexter Charles. We do have and will support, we'll work with Champion and with you to look at what is out in your data center. What are some possible consolidation scenarios to go with? You know, can you consolidate down to your S924s? Do you want to actually consolidate into an E980? But we can do various scenarios for you by looking at, you know, how much rack space you have, what are your utilizations on your servers, et cetera. We'll do some capacity planning. If you need to do same serial upgrades, we can give you some guidance around that. If you need to do model upgrades and technology refresh, we'll be able to help you there. Any IBM I license transfers, again, we can give you guidance on what you need to do. If you're really anxious to go at ICP, we encourage that, and we can help you with sizing, configuration around ICP. And then finally, you know, ICV or ISV sizing. Absolutely, you know, great to have conversation around SAP HANA as well as Oracle. Again, you know, really as you're moving to these older servers and to your newer servers, that per core performance increases from one generation to the next really does help out in terms of your licensing around Oracle. So again, you know, we're going to work with Champion, our team, and with you to go in and put all these resources together to evaluate, you know, what are the right scenarios, and then working with Champion for you guys to actually do the migrations and the implementation. So with that, I believe I'm handing you back to Kevin to just a couple more comments, and we can open up for questions.
Okay. Shannon, that was fantastic. Thank you for that brief overview of everything. And I know that, gosh, you know, I've seen this stuff over and over, and it's my job. I see it every day. But I know a lot of you would probably like copies of the presentation or copies of the end of service announcement, the power refresh guide. What we'll do is we'll send that out to everybody. But what we'd also like to do is, Kevin, if you could click me to the next slide, maybe. I want to reiterate our end of service support offering. And all you have to do is see my email at the bottom or reply to us when we send out these presentations and announcements and refresh guides. If you engage with us, and all we need is your model type and serial numbers if you have multiple machines, and we'll do the legwork for you. We'll figure out when your end of service dates are for your hardware, end of service dates for your SWAMA, your software, what version releases are supported on your machines, etc. And we'll tell you your options for extended support. And then if you'd like, we can tell you, instead of having you go through the refresh guide and then saying, well, geez, how much would that cost me? We can actually run a PerfNav study and model your system on a new Power 8 or Power 9, which I thought that was very enlightening, all the security stuff you had mentioned, Shannon. So thanks for doing that. I had visions in my head of, gosh, the only way you could continue to run one of those older machines is if you were on TwinX only and weren't connected to the internet to keep that darn thing safe and secure. Not that I don't have customers that I run into now and then that still are like that, but it's a rare thing. So anyway, if you engage with us, what we'll do is you'll have your choice of either a small Yeti cooler or a set of 6 Yeti cups, one or the other. And it's very simple. We're giving you some valuable data for your company, and for sharing that with us, we'll send you out a nice Yeti gift. And again, email me at the name at the bottom of the page here, steve@midrangesupport.com, or reply to our email that we will be sending out with the presentation, announcements, and refresh guide. Do we have any questions, Kevin?
Not right now, but if you want to ask a question, go to the questions section in your Go to My Webinar and type one in, and we'll be able to answer.
Okay. Give them a few seconds, see if anything pops up. Otherwise, we will assume that everybody got some great information out of this, and we'll send you out a thank you email.
They could also raise their hand, and I could unmute their microphone if they just want to ask a question.
Okay. If you didn't hear Kevin, you could also raise your hand on this thing, and he'll unmute your microphone, and that way you could ask a question verbally if you'd like.
No one's asking.
All right. Well, Shannon or any of the other IBMers, do you have anything else that you'd like to say before we wrap it up today?
Well, this is Petra from the offering management team, right? The only one I would like to add is, right, it's a great deck. It's really not about just staying current from a hardware standpoint, but the complete stack where our deep integration comes into play in order to leverage, right, the latest, greatest, and what Shannon hinted on, right, not only from a price performance standpoint, but in particular from a security standpoint. And Spectre and Melt Down have shown that. So if any of you needs additional material to approach colleagues, clients, partners, and need additional information in terms of, in general, moving up, but as well in terms of security in particular, feel free to reach out to myself as well.
Excellent. Thank you, Petra.
Terry's got a question, so I'm going to unmute Terry.
Okay. All right. Is Terry unmuted?
I'm working on it.
He's working on it. We're coming, Terry. We're trying to unmute you.
It's not letting me. Oh, he's dialed. Shoot.
No.
Sorry, Terry, I couldn't unmute you. If you want to type it real quick, I'm sorry. Because you're on the phone line, I couldn't unmute you. If you were on your computer, I could.
Huh. Okay. Well, we know Terry, don't we? From Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, that's the
All
only.
right. Well, we can spin around and call Terry after the call. All right, everybody. Well, thank you so much. And again, email me at steve@midrangesupport.com or reply to our thank you note. And again, thank you to all the IBMers who joined us today. Shannon, thank you so much for arranging this and providing such great information. We really appreciate everybody on the call today. That's it. Have a great afternoon.
Thank you, everybody. Bye.
Yep. Thanks, Steve.